God of War 2018 is my favorite video game of all time. It is one of the most recognizable gaming franchises and one that is very dear to me. After the poor reception of God of War Ascension, Sony Santa Monica decided to change things up and ended up completely overhauling the franchise. From the gameplay to the world now being set in Norse mythology instead of Greek, and the game went from being filled with vengeance, violence, and action-packed to a more personal story about a father and a son dealing with loss and the idea of trying to be better. So let's revisit this masterpiece together as I replay this game for like the 9th or 10th time. I don't know, I've played this game a lot. The story starts with Kratos doing some woodwork that his dead wife asked him to. And he gets a bit emotional as his armbands kinda come off a bit, which kinda reminds him of how he killed his old wife. And this is where you hear just how amazing the score of this game really is, and how every single track really makes you feel the emotions of the characters. And then this is where you get introduced to the little shit. Yeah, Kratos has a son in this game, and he just comes in and totally ruins the moment. See, that's why your dad doesn't love you and doesn't even use your real name, boy. From there, we get to know that the boy's mother has passed away, and we cut those trees down for her pyre, and that before her death, her last wish was that Kratos and Atreus spread her ashes at the highest peak in all the realms. And that basically is our main objective in this game. A pretty simple quest that we definitely won't face any problems completing. But before that, Kratos wants to test the boy's competence, so we go hunting
in the direction of deer,
where the boy literally makes a fool of himself. Like, come on bro, you can't even shoot it from this close? No wonder your dad thinks you're a failure.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
Sorry about that. Anyway, here we get introduced to the amazing, juicy combat of this game, and you get to feel the Leviathan axe for the very first time, and man does it feel good. The combat is fluid and responsive, the axe's throw and callback are extremely satisfying, and even the hand-to-hand combat is so raw and crunchy. Every hit feels amazing, and all of this is just from the base abilities of the game. The combat expands and only gets better as you progress and get more abilities and gear. So after that, we get a little closer to the deer, and the boy finally bonks it, and Kratos decides to edge us of a heartfelt daddy-son moment. And this troll freaking steals our meal. Like, who the hell do you think you are, bro? We find out we have a dedicated boy button, and he has abilities of his own using his bow and arrow, and he can be quite useful sometimes in combat. We chop the troll's head off, and the boy suddenly loses his cool, so Kratos gives him a little spank, tells him he's not ready, and then takes him back home.
You are not ready.
There, after having a little argument, Conor McGregor decides to show up on our house, and he is looking for a fight. And this is where we get the big boss fight that we always get at the start of every God of War game.
I thought you'd be bigger.
Though not huge in scale like the old games, this fight gives a perfect introduction to the main antagonist of this game and shows that Kratos really is in unwelcome territory. Baldur's design is so cool, and because of his stature, body language, and how he talks like he's drunk all the time,
Much smarter.
you get so shocked at his strength when he rockets Kratos in the air with a single punch. I also love how in this section he is just called the Stranger, as it shows you are in a new place, new world, new characters that you are not familiar with. After doing a little chiropractor exam on Baldur, Kratos fears that his house is no longer safe and decides to leave on the journey to the mountain, despite telling the boy that he is not ready in the last scene. And only a few scenes later, the boy just starts crying like a little bitch because he killed the guy. This proves Kratos' doubts in him not being ready. Anyway, baby shit aside, we come across a smurf-ass looking dwarf who's actually a blacksmith, the same blacksmith that made the axe for my wife alongside his brother. We get some shiny new upgrades from him and move on to do some target practice on a magical looking boar. I say magical because the boy's arrow just bounces off him, or maybe the boy just sucks at shooting, I guess? After finally successfully shooting the boar and chasing after him, we find that the boar belongs to a a witch. After saving the witch mommy's boar, she tells me that she knows I'm a god and lectures me for hiding it from my boy. Do not tempt me, woman, or I will press the circle button hovering over your head. She tells us that the gods of this realm are bad and that we are not safe, so she gets freaky with our necks to give us this protection thingy. We leave her house and proceed to maybe one of the most awesome moments of the game, where we encounter the big snake.
It's the world serpent.
Stay calm, boy!
The scale of the scene is just so incredible, and the snake's design is so freaking cool. I'm in awe each time I look at it. This has got to be one of my favorite scenes in the whole game, and I love how throughout the game you can just sometimes see him chilling in the background, looking all cool and shit. With the serpent rising, the water drops a bit, opening some more areas to explore. To continue the story though, we move on to Tyr's temple, where Brock has set up shop, which acts as kind of a hub area for the game, since that is where we do our realm traveling. Moving toward the mountain, we come across another dwarf, who in fact is the Smurf's brother, and if Brock is a base Chad, this guy is a proper beta. A proper germaphobe, like this guy would wash his hands after drinking water. How is this guy a blacksmith who made our axe and Thor's hammer? That's wild to think. So anyway, heading up a bit more, we find a huge face in the mountain, vaping, and his vape game is strong AF because we can't even make it past all of that smoke. And the witch mommy suddenly shows up, like, is she secretly into me or something? Like, are you stalking me now? She tells us that the only way to stop the mountain from vaping, we need to get some light from another realm, the realm of the elves, Alfheim. The whole Alfheim section is very sticky, and the boy is suddenly now schizophrenic because he starts hearing voices, and the only other noteworthy part of this chapter is at the end when we go inside the light. And this whole scene is so amazing as it shows you how Atreus truly feels deep inside and how he would prefer that Kratos died instead of his mother.
He always leaves. He's never here. He doesn't want me and he never will. He doesn't talk to me. Doesn't teach me. It should have been him. Do you hear me? Him, not you.
Which tells us how distant Kratos has been with him up until this point. And Atreus wishes it wasn't like that. He wants to get to know his father, and he wants to get close to him.
Except... I don't mean that. You know I love him. I just wish he was better. I know he can be.
But Kratos, in his self-doubts and self-loathe of his past life, just always ends up pushing him away. At the end of this scene, it seems like we are about to meet Faye again, when suddenly we are pulled away by Atreus. Kratos gets angry that why would he pull him out so early, and it's revealed that it's actually been a long time, and Atreus had to defend himself while he waited hours for his father to come back out. And damn, the boy took care of all of these elves on his own. After all that, getting new arrows for the boy and killing a boss at the end, we are back to clear the smoke of the Vaping Mountain. The whole mountain level is kinda boring and one of my least favorite times in the game. The only enjoyable part of this level is the lift section, and at the end of that, you fight a dragon.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
Yeah, there's a really cool dragon boss fight, and this is the only high-scale boss fight in the game that reminds you of the old God of War games, and it stands out in the otherwise lacking catalog of boss fights, which is one of my biggest problems with this game. The boss fights are not that impressive, as almost every other boss is a reskinned troll, and apart from the dragon and the stranger and like 2 more bosses later on, none of the bosses are any good. But at the same time, this game has one of the best boss fights in the whole franchise, which is the Valkyrie Queen, Sigrun. But all the Valkyrie fights are optional side content, and some players who only play the main story will probably miss out on those awesome fights. So the main story needed some variety in bosses, which unfortunately it is lacking. So after you kill the dragon and get this hard shot of Kratos, Sindri gives us some mistletoe arrows for the boy, and we continue our ascent. And when we are close to the summit, Kratos notices that the boy's quiver broke while fighting the dragon. So he tries to fix it using the mistletoe arrow we just received from Sindri. And this becomes very important later on, so keep this arrow in your mind. At the top of the mountain, we eavesdrop on a conversation, and it's between a man stuck in a tree being confronted by 3 other men, the sons of Thor, and their uncle, which is the man who attacked our home and is now revealed to be the son of the Allfather Odin and the brother of Thor, Balder, the god who feels no pain. After they leave, we climb up to come across the prisoner, who introduces himself to be the smartest man alive, Mimir. He hints at knowing Kratos' past, and Atreus tells him of our goal of spreading phase ashes at the highest peak in all the realms. See, throughout this chapter, the boy keeps saying that we are so close to the end and that our journey is almost over, but of course, you did not buy this game to play a 10-hour story, so Mimir reveals that the highest peak is not here in Midgard, but in Jotunheim, the lost realm of the giants. So our journey has taken a complete left turn and we don't know what to do. Luckily, Mimir knows how to get there and is willing to help us, but in order to free him, we must chop off his head. Yeah, we have to cut off his head and reanimate him with some magic, but if that fails, he would die. But Mimir insists that that is the only way for him to be free, and if it does not work, he would rather die than to live in continuous torture at the hands of the Allfather.
I'm going to cut off your head now.
Fair enough.
We take him to the witch mommy, and after she revives him, it is revealed that she is also a god, the goddess Freya. And of course, now knowing that she is a god, Kratos gets all pissy since he hates all the gods and storms off.
You're welcome.
From here on out, Mimir is a companion of ours, and I cannot describe how awesome of an idea this was. See, Kratos is a man of few words, and up until this point, it felt like Atreus just keeps talking to himself. And with Mimir, it adds so much depth to the dialogue, and his addition is so important to not just us as players, but to Kratos and Atreus as well. As throughout the rest of the game, he tells us so much lore about the Norse world and gods and other races that we as the players and as Kratos and Atreus just do not know. So he's basically our new encyclopedia with immense charm and character. As mentioned earlier, Mimir will help us to get to the land of the giants, and to know the way, we need to speak to the last remaining giant in Midgard, Jormungandr, the giant snake. Yes, we finally get to talk to the snake, as Mimir can speak its tongue, so we blow the horn in the middle of the bridge and the serpent appears, but before talking to us, he devours the huge statue of Thor in the lake, which will be important later. Mimir starts talking to the serpent, and man, any scene he is in is just so cool. I love the big snake. So we need 2 things, a chisel and a rune, and the chisel we seek is stabbed through the head of this giant by Thor. And the actual chisel part is blocked by a huge chunk of ice, so Kratos drops the giant's own hammer to break through it. Once we reach the chisel, we are warmly greeted by Magni and Mimir, the sons of Thor.
Yeah.
This is a really nice boss fight, with Magni being the bigger man going toe-to-toe with Kratos, and Modi being the smaller and sneakier one, keeping distance. They're kinda similar to Kratos and Atreus in that sense. Throughout this fight, both of them constantly poke at Atreus and talk smack about his mother to rile him up, to annoy him, to anger him, and they do succeed in that, as Atreus does lose his cool in the end.
Your mother ugly or something. She cut up your face and you do about her.
Don't talk about my mother!
Don't talk about my mommy.
Kratos ends up killing Magni pretty easily, and Modi is shocked to see him kill a god like that, as he thinks Kratos is just some ordinary guy, and he cowers in fear and runs off. And as I said before, in the process of this fight, they really managed to piss off Atreus. And as Modi runs off, Atreus shouts at him, and it ends up coughing up some blood, showing that he is getting sick. And we saw this with the opening ogre fight as well, that whenever he gets angry, he starts getting sicker. It's almost like his inner Spartan rage is fighting within him, and he does not know about it. So anyway, we get the chisel and go on our way to fetch the rune, which is located below Tyr's temple, inside Tyr's vault. There we are again confronted by Modi trying to kill Kratos, but this time Atreus' rage consumes him, and unable to contain or control it, he just collapses unconscious.
Whoops! I think I broke him.
Kratos gets mega angry for that and gets up like a Chad while still being electrocuted. Modi again runs off scared while Atreus is now mega sick and needs help. This chapter is easily my favorite in the whole game. The way the tone suddenly shifts and the world changes in this dark, gloomy way and filled with dread, we go over to Freya to help our son. And then this moment happens.
Somebody just called the serpent.
This goddamn moment has ruined my life. The horn gets blown and it feels like it's an important moment. Even Mimir makes it sound like it's an important thing, it's a big thing.
Somebody just called the serpent.
At the time I was very curious as who it could be, but of course it's never revealed in this game. And what do? I look up theories, and these theorists broke my mind. Oh, it's Atreus from the future, oh, it's Kratos from the future, and they made it such a big deal. While Sony, Santa Monica, and Corey probably just made it that it's some insignificant event, but they can't admit it now because the whole community went nuts for the horn, and now we're probably never gonna find out who it is. Because we ourselves made it so important. Thank you, Captain Cuba, for ruining my life with your theories.
Somebody just called the serpent.
Moving on, seeing Atreus in this condition, we see just how much Kratos actually cares for him, as he is pacing around and helplessly asking for Freya's aid. And she tells us that we need to go to Helheim, which is super cold, so our frost axe won't work. And when Kratos says he needs to dig up his past, you know what's about to go down.
Then I must return home. Dig up a past I swore would stay buried.
The whole boat ride home is so epic. It builds up the eventual reveal perfectly. During the whole boat ride, we see Athena, and it's clear that she's not actually there, she's just in Kratos' head.
Get out of my head.
We reach our home, and Kratos walks in slowly as the music tenses up. Reaches for the hole in the floor, where at the start of the game, Atreus says that he told him never to go down there. And that's because that is where he has hidden the Blades of Chaos. Yeah, the iconic blades are back in this game. And you can see just how hard it is for Kratos to pull them out, and his arms are literally shaking because of all the terrible memories and regrets, the nightmares that are tied to those blades. The blades he wished to never wield again, he brings them back only to save his son. And the whole monologue Athena gives to Kratos about how he can never change and all that, and Kratos knows that he can't. He just knows that he is no longer the slave of the Greek gods. And the line he says to Athena,
But I am your monster no longer.
perfectly sums up his transformation in this new saga. Well, we have the blades now, and holy shit, they are fun. This is what I'm talking about when I say I want to play a God of War game. The blades are fast, they have good reach for crowd control, and the moveset, though limited as compared to the old games, it's still amazing. They add a whole new dynamic to the already perfect combat of the axe. And the blades just, what am I looking for? Yeah, they make you feel like the god of war. So we make our way to Helheim, and this is a cold, cold place. I think the environments here are very well done, and you really feel like you are in danger here all the time. As we progress through this level, we reach the Bridge of the Damned, which Freya said never to cross. And there's this huge bird in the distance, which is just so cool to me. I love big, huge creatures lurking in the far. Like, I love watching those fake, huge monster caught on camera vids. It's so cool to me, and this bird is literally one of my favorite things in this whole game. And I think I heard at the time that there was talks of making this as a boss fight, but it got scrapped for whatever reason. And each time I replay this game, I think of what could have been with this boss fight if it got made. After being disappointed that we don't get to fight the bird, we find out that the bridge keeper is just another troll. Yay guys, we get to fight another troll! Wow! After performing some of his butchering skills, Kratos takes out the heart which we needed to cure our son, and holy shit, is that Zeus? Yeah, so Mimir tells us that Helheim tortures people with their past, so that's why we're seeing Zeus. So, any chance we get to see Aphrodite again? After a little nostalgia trip, we return to Freya with the heart, and she says that she can break the fever, but in order to fully heal Atreus, he must know his true nature. After the boy wakes up, we are about to leave when Kratos reveals to him that they are both gods.
I'm a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you.
And this little kid does not give any reaction at all. Instead, the first thing that comes to his mind is that if he can turn into an animal, just a kid's imagination.
Can I...
After the huge revelation, we go back to Tyr's vault for the travel room to Jotunheim, and this place is a gauntlet of challenges and traps. And inside this vault, Tyr has kept all of his treasures he has collected throughout his travels to other lands, and Kratos stumbles upon the Greece section to find himself on a vase being showcased as the god of war. And trying to hide it from Atreus, Kratos just breaks it, though he does pick up some wine for later. We then complete all the other rooms, and after Atreus saves Kratos' life from one of the traps, and Kratos giving Atreus some very inspiring manhood and godhood advice, we finally acquire the rune.
So I'm a man now.
We are not men.
What did he say?
Only to be immediately faced with yet another troll boss fight. But guys, this time there are two of them. Yay! We defeat them, and while leaving the vault, Dad and boy share a very wholesome moment when Kratos offers his 12-year-old son some wine that he just stole. And that expired wine probably messed with the boy, as his character completely shifts after this moment. He starts becoming arrogant and cruel. He starts to develop a superiority complex as him being a god starts getting to his head. He now thinks he's above others and thinks he can do whatever he wants. It first starts when he insults Sindri for no reason at all and is just an asshole to him.
We're sick of hearing about little people's little problems.
That hurt a little.
He's then mean to Kratos and Mimir, and even talks ill about his mother, how she wasn't a god, as if he's belittling her. And then we see perhaps the most critical scene for Atreus. The scene that probably shapes his future and who he becomes as a person later on. As we enter the mountain, we find a disheveled, beaten down Modi. He says his father blamed him for what we did to Magni, signaling that he was put in this condition by his own father, that Thor beat him to a pulp for what happened. He's now a shell of his former self, but of course that doesn't completely change Modi. He is still an asshole and still makes disgusting comments about Atreus' mom, and Atreus doesn't really like how he talks about him and his mother, and Kratos tells him that he's beaten, not a threat anymore. But Atreus thinks that Modi should be punished, and he should pay for what he said about mother. In this arrogance and anger, faced with the defenseless Modi, Atreus kills him, stabs him in the neck.
What are you doing?
This is a much better knife than Mother's.
Yes, the small child who we grew to love throughout the game, who was kind and soft and who started crying when he first killed someone in self-defense and was shocked by that horror for a while. Now in this newfound sense of superiority and godhood, without a thought, kills another god. In this one scene, Atreus has lost his innocence and his kindness. Kratos tries to reprimand Atreus and tells him that there are consequences to killing a god, but Atreus, who has listened to him every time up until now, raises his voice and questions his father.
There are consequences to killing a god!
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
Watch your tone, boy.
And just walks out on him, going,
Whatever.
"My God, what has happened to my sweet child?" From here, Atreus just gets sassy and develops a huge attitude to the point he just stops listening to you, and when you press square to give him any command, he just goes,
Whatever.
and at one point he stops listening at all and fights and summons his runic animals without you even doing anything. So we reach back up the mountain to carve the rune in the big gateway to open up our way to Jotunheim, but of course we get jumped by none other than Baldur. In the heat of battle, Kratos just slams Baldur in the gateway, completely destroying it in the process. You could have slammed him literally anywhere else.
Oh my god!
Of course, Atreus, being bitchy about everything right now, gets a little worked up when the gate is destroyed. Kratos tells him to run away since he is not ready to fight Baldur, but Atreus, now being cocky and arrogant, tries to run at Baldur, but is stopped by Kratos, and Atreus just shoots an arrow in his father's chest.
What are you aiming at?
What the hell is wrong with this kid? And then tries to jump Baldur, but of course he can't do shit to him, so Baldur just grabs him by the neck, stabs him, and kidnaps the boy. Now this whole sequence is one of the most epic ones in the whole game. So Kratos runs after them, and Baldur has a dragon. Alright, and we start fighting on the dragon as it's flying, but then Kratos is pushed off as Baldur takes Atreus in the realm traveler room. We run towards them, but we are a little late and Baldur has already started the travel sequence, but Kratos then shoves his Bifrost in as well, and we are all forced into Helheim. And we get separated from Baldur, but we are thrown across the other side of the Bridge of the Damned, the very place Freya tells us to never go. Kratos finally puts Atreus in his place, gives him a good spanking, and tells him he's been a bad boy, and we are stuck here because of him, and now our goal is to escape hell.
And you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand.
As we established before, hell torments you with your past, your own heinous actions and your sins. Here, the first victim of that is Atreus, as he's shown how mercilessly he murdered Modi.
It wasn't me. I couldn't have done that.
Atreus was taken aback by this. He is confused that it could not have been him, that he would never do something like that. He is not like that. He starts to realize how his behavior is changing, and Kratos reaffirms that. After some time, we come across Baldur also being haunted by visions, and we kinda just spy on him. It is revealed that Freya, our friend, is his mommy, and she was the one who took away Baldur's ability to feel. And this whole scene circles back to when we saved Atreus, as back then Freya was telling us about her son, that when he was born, it was prophesied that he will die needlessly, and what she did to prevent that was selfish and drove her son away. And here we see that of course in her mind she was just trying to protect her son by making it so that he could no longer feel pain, and failed to see what that would mean for Baldur's life. He feels robbed and that her mother stole his life from him. Of course, if you cannot feel, how can you continue to live? Baldur wanted to kill Freya for what she did, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Instead, he left her and never saw her again. In this foolish act, Freya lost the only thing she tried to protect. And if you're wondering why Mimir never told us about their relationship, is because he was bewitched not to speak of what he knows. We reach a ship which we can use to escape by making it float with the fires from our blades, and it's a pretty long ride filled with a lot of battles. And no, look, it's the bird. It's so cool, we're so close to it. Throughout the ride, we hear two voices, part of Hell's visions, and at the end of the ride, we find out that those voices were from Kratos himself and his father, Zeus.
Face me, father. It is time to end this.
Yes, my son. It is time.
No.
We are shown the iconic first-person murder of Zeus at the hands of Kratos. Atreus is looking on in shock, and Kratos seems frozen, but Atreus chooses to ignore it and tries to snap Kratos out of it as we reach Tyr's temple. We jump, and on our way back, Kratos tries to ask the boy about the incident, but he brushes it off like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's choosing to not bring up whatever heinous past his father might have had. And Kratos, yet again, dodges having to talk about his old life. So when we jumped off, we fell into this library type area, and Mimir quickly understands that it's probably Odin's library. And he knows, since we broke that big gateway, we are basically out of options and have no way to get to Jotunheim now. Until we come across Tyr's hidden panel that was stolen from his vault. Odin kept it hidden here, and it shows Tyr traveling somehow with a travel stone. Seeing it, Mimir gets an idea on how we can still make it to Jotunheim, and to get to this hidden chamber, we need a key. And who else to make it than our favorite dwarves? We go to Brock, but he doesn't like making anything ladylike, like keys, so who shows up to change his mind? None other than his own brother for a reunion. See, throughout the game, whenever we come across the dwarves, they upgrade your gear and shit on their brother. But also, they sometimes ask about how their brother is doing, which shows that they both still do care for each other and miss each other. So when we ask for the key, they bond over crafting it for us and finally properly reunite. Seeing all this makes Atreus very happy, and he finally asks Sindri for forgiveness for how he treated him before. Our boy is finally coming back. Now with the key, we find Tyr's hidden chamber, which is located under the Realm Traveler room, and the black rune we seek, which we saw in the shrine, is out of our reach, since this room is mirrored, and the only solution Kratos' meathead could think of is flipping the damn temple. We finally get to the stone, and Mimir is bamboozled that it's a unity stone, whatever that is, and he tells us we can travel wherever we want with this, so of course the only place we can think of is to jump straight into the abyss.
This is incredible!
How can I be so nauseous without a stomach?
The realm between realms, and we find that Tyr hid the whole ass Jotunheim tower down here. What a place to hide. Inside the tower, there's a hole to shove the black stone in, and suddenly we are faced with enemies from all the realms in a cool gauntlet type section. Then after opening the door again, we are back in Midgard, and the tower is miraculously back to where it belongs among all the other realm towers. But we still can't travel to Jotunheim because there is no travel crystal. You know, those things that are in front of all the doors through which the light passes? Atreus suggests that Mimir has jeweled eyes like Tyr, so maybe we could use those, but Mimir reminds him that he's only got one eye. He's like Plankton right now. And Odin stole his other eye. Upon asking the dwarves, they say it was probably stored in that big statue of Thor, which the snake ate. So now we are going to ask the snake to vomit. But thankfully, the snake does not have to vomit. Instead, he offers we go inside him. That's worse. Inside the snake, there are some perfectly put structures for us to climb and also an unharmed, clean chest for us to loot. That coincidentally has Mimir's eye in it. Does the serpent not know how to chew properly, or...?
Gently now, gently. Thank you, brother. You don't miss depth until it's gone.
Anyway, we were just about to leave, but of course Atreus had to open his dumb mouth and say some dumb shit like, oh, nothing's gonna stop us now.
There's no stopping us now.
And of course the snake starts to shake, snake starts to shake, that's a mouthful, and Mimir almost drowns in the dirty stomach water of the snake. We are spat out and near the giant Thamur, and suddenly mommy Freya appears, saying she wants to find her son, and we can't really trust her now since we know who her son is, and then of course her baby boy shows up in such a cold way. Seriously, I love this entrance, he looks so cool and menacing. Bro thinks he's Aquaman or something. He's the one who spanked the snake to make him spit us out because he wants to kill us, but Freya's also there and then starts the whole family drama. Baldur has waited so long to tell everything he wants to tell his mommy, and Freya's like, I know how it feels, son. Ooh, very poor choice of words, Freya.
How I feel?
Your son doesn't feel shit because of you. And before he could get his grubby little mitts on her, Kratos decides to step in and become all philosophical, like, oh, vengeance bad, don't be like me. And Baldur isn't having none of that, and we start the final boss fight of the game. Mechanically, the first phase of this fight is not much different from the stranger fight at the start of the game. But after this phase, in the cutscene, Kratos is trapped in some veins created by Freya, and Atreus stands in front of him, trying to protect him. And Baldur just decks him hard, and Kratos sees some blood. But when Atreus catches his breath, he says it's not his blood, it's Baldur's.
Not my blood.
What is that? I can feel this. I can feel everything.
So you remember the mistletoe arrows that Freya took from us saying they were wicked? Well, she may have taken the arrows, but Kratos did fix the boy's quiver with one of them. And when Baldur punched Atreus, that arrow punctured his hand, and Baldur felt that. Yes, that is how we break the spell, and Baldur starts to feel again. A simple gift given to us by Sindri, which now we know why Freya got so riled up when she saw the arrows with us, because she was afraid that we may harm her little boy someday somehow. This is such good foreshadowing that you could never even think that the little quiver fix could play such a huge role at the end of the game. So now that Baldur is vulnerable, Freya gets mega angry and starts controlling the giant while shouting the whole time that she will protect her son even if he tries to kill him. So now we're thrown into the next phase of this fight, and now Baldur has ice and fire powers, which we must counter with our own fire and ice weapons. This whole fight is extremely cinematic, and look just how confident the boy has gotten in combat. He's taken a huge leap, firing arrows into Baldur. And I just love how shocked everyone gets whenever Kratos buffs up and goes into Spartan rage. After another phase, we reach the climax of the battle in this epic father-son combo. And the scene just shows how much Kratos and Atreus have grown throughout the game and how much trust they now have in one another. They went from not seeing eye to eye to being completely in sync in battle. Absolute cinema. And it gets even more badass when Freya tries to overpower us with a giant and Atreus calls out to the World Serpent for help.
I have an idea! Boom! Die!
Boy?
Boom!
Well done, boy.
And we finally have Baldur almost killed when, in an amazing show of character development from his murder of Modi, Atreus now tells Kratos that Baldur is beaten and not worth killing.
He's beaten, Father. Not a threat.
He is beaten. Not worth killing.
We spare him and tell him not to touch mommy Freya, but of course he goes and immediately starts choking her out, and I did not know Freya was freaky like that because she starts enjoying it. We put a stop to this incest drama, and Kratos drops this very hard line.
The cycle ends here. Must be better than this.
And this has so much context behind it. See, the old games had this cycle of all sons killing their parents, and while Kratos' father Zeus was just evil, Freya was not. She just made a very stupid mistake, but in her mind she was just protecting her son, and it was done out of love. But of course for Baldur, he was robbed of everything that made him feel alive, and since the key message of this game is to be better, as Kratos himself has been trying to be better, he decides to save Freya so that he may put an end to this cruel cycle.
He saved your life.
He robbed me of everything! Everything.
Now Freya hates us and immediately questions our attempt at changing, as our son does not know anything about our past, so Kratos ends up telling his son that he also killed his father, and tells Atreus that he must be better than him, as he should not be bound by this cycle, instead become the god he chooses to be.
Who I was is not who you be. We must be better.
Now with Baldur dead and having acquired Mimir's other eye, we are free to finally go to Jotunheim. Opening the gate to Jotunheim, Mimir tells us that it's better for Kratos and Atreus to go alone, as it is a family matter. And our lovely dwarves also come to see us off, and we leave Mimir to them. Upon entering, Kratos frees himself of his bandages, signifying that he is accepting his past, and says he has nothing more to hide, as if a huge burden has been lifted from his shoulders.
I have nothing more to hide.
And on this final stretch of our journey, Kratos finally lets Atreus carry his mother's ashes.
Carry her.
Inside, the whole place is empty, and there are only some giant sculptures and writings on the walls. And as we are about to leave the area, Atreus touches one of the walls, and these murals are revealed. The murals that tell our entire story. See, giants had the gift of prophecy. They know the future, or some parts of it, and turns out Faye was a giant as well, and she predicted everything that happened throughout the game. You know those yellow markings we see on all the climbable surfaces? Those were also made by Faye. She took every step of our journey before we took it. This also reveals that Atreus is actually half god and half giant, and as he rushes ahead to finish the journey, Kratos finds a hidden mural that depicts his death in his son's arms.
Yes. Yes, we are.
This kept me up every night after I played this game back then, and more thanks to the theorists who rotted my brain with ideas of how this scene might play out in the future. Faye sent us on this journey knowing that we would find all this, perhaps to warn us of Kratos' inevitable future, but she could have just told us that, right? So I look at it this way, that she sent us on this journey so that Kratos and Atreus could learn to love and trust each other, and I believe she succeeded in that, as we see just how close these two have gotten since the start of the game.
No. We do it together. Son.
Kratos finally embracing Atreus and calling him son instead of boy feels real and earned. Then in unison, they spread Faye's ashes in one of the most satisfying conclusions to any game I've ever played. This game's story is one that is very personal, It's not some great quest, but rather just a father and a son who already have a rocky relationship, dealing with loss and trying to learn to grow together and rely on each other. Many people could learn from that, I believe.
Goodbye, Faye.
I love you, Mom.
After completing the journey, we see the giants are really all gone, and Atreus is the last of his kind. Kratos tells him that he named him Atreus after a kind Spartan that he admired, and Atreus reveals to his father that on the murals,
The giants called me... Loki?
which signifies that his role in the future could be much more significant, or rather, mischievous. God of War means a lot to me and has taught me a lot. And I know this script was all over the place, and this is my first time doing anything like this, but I just really wanted to talk about my favorite game of all time, and I kind of just rambled, so I hope you could enjoy that. And perhaps you could return next time as I talk about something else that I like. But until then, thank you for watching, and goodbye.